Good evening, everyone. I, Raghav Taide, on behalf of Filmistic Clubs, welcome you all to the next session of a most awaited talk show of the slash series, The Controversies of Mahabharata. As of today, we are not just overwhelmed but also feel privileged to have with us Dr. Karthik Subramaniam, who is professor at VIT Pune. Also accompanying him would be Dr. Rishabh Kaul, who would again put his interesting questions in our discussion and guiding us through this session and making this session an interactive one. I hand over the mic to Rishabh Kaul, sir, who would start the session further.
Yeah, thank you so much, Raghav, for the introduction. And I welcome each and every one of you, especially Dr. Karthik Subramaniam, sir, for again joining with us. It's our privilege to have you. So before the session, I would request each and every one of you that if you have any questions, you can put it down in the chat box. Whatever previous sessions you had any questions, you can put it down. And today our topic of discussion will revolve around the reservations, the Jati system, and Karna and Eklavya. So if you have any kind of questions regarding these three topics, you can put it in the chat box so that we can take. And at the end of the sessions, you can personally ask sir also if you have any questions. So with this introduction from the previous session, I have also noted down your questions regarding these topics, and I'll also be including your questions when I'll be asking them to sir. So sir, my first question to you would be that what is this Jati system exactly? What is this divisions in the society? At the first place, why division? And there are so many theories, there are so many philosophies where they say that the division is not required. So first question is that why division, and if then what is its relevance in the society?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Happy to be back with all of you. So, the Jati system, the purpose was to give a default identity to a person. So,
Okay.
that identity would give a starting point to everyone based on which he would understand his particular nature, his psychophysical nature, and what kind of occupation is most suitable to him. Obviously, it didn't depend only on that. It depended also on the type of work that he does. So if you go back to the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna speaks about this to Arjuna, he says in the fourth chapter, Chatur Varne Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasha. That means these four Varnas, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, he says that this is how human society is divided based on Guna and Karma. Guna means quality, the kind of qualities one has obtained, and karma means work. Okay, it can mean previous work that one has done, or it can mean the work that one is currently doing. Okay, so we also need to understand that the Jati system was at least not so frozen that it never dependent on your quality and work. So depending on the quality and work, it could change, and it could be seen differently as well. But yes, majority of the people would fit according to their family background, and which, by the way, is even seen in today's world in so many ways. For example, if you see in today's world, you will see, for example, most of the business is run, for example, by Marwadis, Sindhis, right? These are the people who are running businesses, and it's unavoidable. You will always see person in such families having such kind of thought. Like for example, if you see in Maharashtra, we don't have a Vaishya caste in Maharashtra so much. Like there are the Brahmins, then there are Marathas who are like Kshatriyas, and there are other castes. So if you see, that is why in Bombay also, if you see carefully, though it is part of Maharashtra, all the businesses by and large Gujaratis and these people are only managing it. My purpose in saying that is that even in today's society, and not only in India, even if you go to America, like the Jews in the West are called as good Jews. So they jokingly call them as good Jews, because they are the people who are very, by their own genes, by their own background, they are very good with money. They are there in all the banking systems. they are just hardly 5% of America, but they are the most rich people in America, and they are there everywhere. Okay, so the point which I'm trying to make is that even in modern society where it may not be fashionable to see jati, but still where a person is born is having a very big impact on a person's life.
Yeah. So does it also mean that if my father is a Brahmin, then I'll also be a Brahmin? By birth, I'll get that title?
Yeah, see, basically, birth gives a starting point. Okay, now, for example, let's consider now Mukesh Ambani. If you saw the news recently, you may have seen that his grandson has started going to school. Okay, so now having born in Mukesh Ambani's family, this person has a lot of facilities, he has a lot of resources, he has a starting point to be a businessman.
Okay.
Which is now, I may say that even I can be as a big businessman as Mukesh Ambani. Nobody may stop me. But practically speaking, for such a person in that background, that starting point is there. Okay, so similarly for everyone, the birth gives you the starting point. Now, somebody may not use that opportunity. Somebody may be born in a very wealthy family, business family, but he may just throw all the money, spend all the money, and be a failure in business.
Yes.
But the opportunity is based on that birth. So that is the point that we're talking about. And also it's based on genes also. See, it's not just opportunity in terms of the family background. This particular nature is also genetic. For example, the business mind is there in some people, right? It's a particular type of intelligence to be able to do business. Okay, it's a particular type of it is a particular type of nature, what we call a psychophysical nature, a particular nature in your subtle body, which, for example, helps you be a warrior in the army. Okay, so if you see in Indian army also today, they have Gorkha regiment, they have Sikh regiment, Rajput regiment, Maratha regiment, right? And people in this particular backgrounds, they have that tendency. Like if you see Sikhs, Sardar people, so they are very good with fighting, and they have that, because it's a Kshatriya race by and large. So you see that unavoidably in today's world.
So you mean to say that birth will surely give you some, I mean, a little qualification, but it does not define that maybe suppose a Kshatriya son will always be a Kshatriya, or a Brahmana son will always be a Brahmana. There may be some certain traits of them.
Yes,
right?
in fact, in the Mahabharata, you will see that, for example, there is a term used called Brahma Bandhu. That means like Ashwathama, he's the son of Drona. By birth, he was Brahmin. But because he did certain acts like killing the people at the night and all that, he's referred to in the Mahabharata as Brahma Bandhu. That means a relative of a Brahmin, but not a Brahmin. So basically, your acts can change your karma. Your karma can change your jati literally.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so I was also asking about the second question, that why this reservation, I mean, why this jati system? Also, before telling that, can you just describe who is a Brahmin? Because there are many misconceptions regarding what is a Brahmin, what is a Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. So that is first. And then why is it required in society? Can't it be a casteless society where everyone is equal?
Okay, so first thing, as far as the Bhagavad Gita and Mahabharata are concerned, they're very clear. They define all the jatis based on their qualities. Like if you read the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Samo damo tapas saucham chantira arjavam evacha jnanam vijnanam ashtikyam brahma karma svabhavajam. Krishna is listing the 9 qualities of a Brahman. Okay, peace of mind, control over the senses, tapasya, ability to do some austerity, reading Vedic literature. There are 9 points mentioned. Brahma karma svabhavajam. Similarly, for a Kshatriya, it is mentioned resourcefulness in battle, heroism, and so on. For a Vaishya, it is mentioned, what are the qualities that he possesses, like interest in business, in taking care of cows and other animals, and commerce, dealing in commerce and trading, and so on. So the jatis are based on the quality, which is, by the way, please remember, it is not just a skill that you have. It is also in terms of whether in your mind you have that particular nature to take on that occupation. Like to give you a simple example, every person who is very strong, like sometimes you will see in our movies, all our Bollywood heroes, they have six-pack, ab and all that, right? So they appear to be very strong. That doesn't mean that they can fight in the border. Okay, they can be a soldier. If you see in NDA and all that, if you see that entrance exam, they test your mental ability. Do you have that ability to be a warrior? That ability is not just physical, mind you, it's also mental. Okay.
Psychophysical nature.
Psychophysical. So similarly for all these jatis. So the purpose, so these jatis, very scientifically, the Mahabharata and Gita talks in terms of those qualities. And yes, birth would, either genetically or in terms of resources, one would have access to those qualities. So that's why birth gets related, and which is an observable phenomenon in today's world. You can observe it everywhere. It's not only in India, mind you. It is there all over the world in terms of certain groups of people, like we say, Chinese people of this region, or, these particular people, they have this nature. So these things are genetic, they are related to your background and so on.
Okay, so not just by wearing a Brahmin thread, I'll be called a Brahmana, but as you told, that 9 things I must be doing to be called as a Brahmin.
Yes,
or
you should have that
Kshatriya.
nature. Yeah, that nature should be there. Like if you want to be a Kshatriya, then we have read stories of Shivaji Maharaj, Rana Pratap. We know the kind of valor they exhibited. Or even in today's army, you will see there are people in our Indian army today who exhibit that type of nature to show that valor. Then they can be accepted as a Kshatriya. Otherwise, what is the use of a rubber stamp?
Yeah. So for the first 3, Brahman, Vaishya, and Kshatriya, there are no confusions. Who is a Shudra, and what does he do? Does he clean all the toilets and the lanes in our thing? So can you just define who is a Shudra?
Yeah. See, a Shudra is someone who is dependent on someone else for his occupation. That is how the Gita defines it. Okay. Paricharya means you're dependent. So basically, an employed person is actually a Shudra. Now, please remember, the Shudra is also, by the way, there is, see, what happens in our modern times, we see things always in terms like a gold medal, silver medal, bronze medal, and, no medal. So when we impose that on this, we wonder as if Brahmin means, the gold medal. And so it's actually not like that. So if you see carefully, the Brahmin by nature, even though he was considered like the head of the society, because he gives knowledge, he has certain occupation he should do, engage in teaching, engage in doing sacrifices and so on. But at the same time, he can never take a salary from anybody, a Brahmin. Okay, he lives only on charity. If you even read the story of Chanakya, who was considered as a Brahmin, when he was working for Chandragupta Maurya, he told him that I'm not going to take any salary from you. You give me whatever you feel like, I will take that. Because once I take a fixed salary, I will be bound to tell you nice things so that I can have that expectation of that money from you. So, so this is the level of a Brahmana. So we need to understand what that means. So Shudra means one who's working for somebody. So even, honestly speaking, most of our engineering or, all these things come under that only, right? Because we have, like for example, whether you have a carpenter or, all those things in modern times, all technical work, which you are not independent. See, if you're technical and you're independent, then you become a Vaishya. You become an entrepreneur, right? So an entrepreneur is always superior to an employee, as in, because he decides what he wants to do, right? But at the same time, or so like that, right? Most of the professions where you're working, and using your skill, basically using your skill, serving somebody else and earning money. That skill could be anything. Okay, so then that becomes a Shudra, like that. Okay. So that is how. And there is nothing wrong in it. It's not supposed to be seen as if
lower
that's my
and upper
nature.
Class.
No, it's not like that. Yeah, that's the point. See, if I don't have an entrepreneurial spirit, I don't have the spirit to be a politician or an army man. I don't have the spirit to be a selfless teacher all my life. Okay, so if I don't have that spirit for that, and if I have some good skills and I can, sell my skills to somebody and contribute to society in some way and make money, so what's wrong in that? So the whole idea is, so that's why once you don't see it like this, that gold medal, silver medal kind of thing, then it's all fine. In fact, a Shudra and a Vaishya are sometimes much more richer than a Brahmin. Please remember, if you see the Mahabharata, etc., generally the stories start like this only. Once upon a time, there was a poor Brahmin. That's how stories start. Because that Brahmin was never a rich guy. He was not a landlord earning money like that. He had very simple things for his livelihood. So Vaishya or Shudra are actually richer than Brahmin in terms of wealth. Even they're richer than a Kshatriya. They're richer than an army man. So you can't see it like that. Yeah.
So again, my first question, wouldn't this world be a better place or a peaceful place if there were no castes only, casteless society?
My point is, even if you say formally you will not make it like that, still effectively that happens only in society. So, for example, you are going to have people who are either interested in the political realm, or the army, or those who are entrepreneurial spirit, and those who are simply serving people. But the difference is when you have a formal structure, then see, please try to understand what happens is there are many advantages. Nowadays, you will see increasingly, or you will see a lot where identity crisis is there for people, where a person doesn't understand who am I. That self-discovery itself for an individual takes a very long time sometimes. Who am I fundamentally? So the Jati system gave you a starting point. It gave you a point where you began. And most of these people in traditional societies would earn money also very early and be independent. Even in fact, the Shudra of the Vedic society is an independent person, mind you. He's using his skills to serve. Like he may be a barber, a carpenter, a blacksmith. They are all independent people. So please remember, so in fact, very few among the Shudras are quote unquote employed. Even Shudras can use their skill in serving society and be independent. Okay, but they don't become a Vaishya because of that. A Vaishya means he's managing a big empire, or he's having people under him, he's doing commerce, etc. So correct. So it's like that. So my point is, even if formally such systems are not there, they are anyway going to be there in the world. That's the point.
Okay. So if at present moment I am going through an identity crisis, I don't know who I am, is it my responsibility to find who I am? Because it will take a lot of time, stress, energy on me to find who I am. And in that way, I'll pass my life without doing anything substantial to the society.
Yeah, see, basically, self-discovery is one of the most important goals of education as well, if you carefully see. Okay, so generally, our scriptures say that to understand who you are, there are 4 parameters. One is the family background. That's just one. Okay, second is your upbringing, the kind of things that you were exposed to as you grew up, because that also defines who you are. Third thing is your teachers or people who are very close to you, guides who could help you understand. And fourth is you yourself, over a period of time, by introspection, understand where you best fit in. Okay, there are 3-4 ways in which one understands. But the point is that discovery, the whole purpose of education is indeed that discovery.
Okay. Okay, understood. So now taking this topic further towards Mahabharata. So our 2 points of discussion mainly are Karna and Eklavya. So if I see in their lives also, particularly what generally questions are there, they are mostly related to their jati. So like if I'll start with like Karna, why was Karna not allowed to be taught by Dronacharya and eventually by Parshuram? And similarly, I'll put also of Eklavya, that why was he not allowed, or why was he rejected by Drona? Just because he was from a lower caste?
Okay, so very good question. We'll take this ahead. So first of all, we need to understand.
You're muted. Sir, you're muted. Okay, you are
yeah,
muted.
sorry. Yeah. So basically, we'll take Karna first, and then later we'll take Eklavya. Karna, if you see carefully, was born as a Kshatriya by birth because he was the son of Kunti. But he was born to Kunti before her marriage, right? There is a whole story how Kunti gives birth to Karna. And obviously, a woman cannot, who's unmarried, cannot take a child effectively. And Kunti was only 14 years in that story, 14 or 15-year-old.
Yeah.
So she put Karna in a basket and sent it down the river. And then Karna was picked up by a person called Adhiratha. Okay, he was actually belonging to the Suta caste. He was actually a driver by profession, belonging to Hastinapur. And Karna was raised like that. So to the world, it was understood that he's a Suta, the son of a driver. And a Suta comes under the Shudra category. But interestingly, in the Mahabharata, Karna is accepted as a Kshatriya only. Okay, so actually many times what happens is, we watch television serials and our knowledge of Mahabharata comes only from that. So if you see the Mahabharata written by Vyasadeva, it is very clear that Karna studied under Dronacharya. Dronacharya was a teacher in Hastinapur to teach all Kshatriyas in Hastinapur, and he admitted Karna in his school. But what happened was, after some time, Karna wanted to learn some advanced things. So he left the ashram and he went to Parashura. Okay, so you need to understand that Dronacharya accepted Karna as a Kshatriya. He never said you're a Shudra, because by birth it was understood that he was a Shudra. Okay, we know in the story that he was a Kshatriya by birth, but in the Mahabharata nobody knew that till his death. Right, so he was generally known as the son of a Shudra, but the Dronacharya accepted him as a Kshatriya only. And then if you move ahead in the story, Karna goes to Parashuram for advanced studies. And there something very interesting happens. Now Parashuram is a teacher, but for some reason he had decided he will teach only Brahmins. Now one may say, why did he decide like that? So there is a whole background to it. So his father and brothers were killed by the Kshatriya, Kartaveri, Arjuna and his people. So he had like enmity with every caste, because he felt that nobody protected my father and my brothers.
So that was his personal choice.
That was his personal choice.
Okay.
That had nothing to do with the society at that time. Like Drona did not have any such hiccups. And even if you see, you have to read this book called as Ramaniya Vriksha, the beautiful tree, by, just forgot his name. He's, forgot that. I'll just, maybe if I get his name, I'll tell you. One second. I'll just.
Ramaniya
Vriksha is the name of the book. This is about, all the gurukuls that existed in India in the 17th, 18th century before the British arrived. And if you read that book, it is very clear that the author who has done a lot of research, he was a companion of Mahatma Gandhi. So he gives all details about various caste students, Jati students who were studying in gurukuls across India. It's a very, Dharmapal. Yeah, Dharmapal is the name of the author. If you Google Dharmapal and Ramaniya Vriksha in English, it is available as The Beautiful Tree. It's a very scholarly book, which is well accepted by everyone as a book that talks about the Gurukul system in India prior to the British demolishing it. So my point is, even at that time, all Jatis studied in the Gurukuls. It is not that they did not study. Okay, that's my first thing. So Drona would teach, but Parashuram, due to his personal issues, he had decided to teach only Brahmins. But now what happens is Karna goes to Parashuram and lies that I am Brahmin, which of course he shouldn't have done. So Parashuram starts to teach him. But then we know the story that one day Parashuram is lying on the lap of Karna and taking an afternoon nap. At that time, there is a wasp that climbs on Karna's thigh and starts drinking the blood. The blood is falling on Parashuram's face, and Parashuram gets up. And then when he sees that Karna was sitting, he says, how did you tolerate this pain? So Karna said, I didn't want you to get up in the middle of your sleep. I didn't want to disturb you. That's why I didn't move. So Parashuram said, such pain can be tolerated only by a Kshatriya. Now, please note this story very carefully. Okay, so at that time, Parashuram is asking Karna, tell me the truth, who are you? Now, at this point of time in the story, Karna introduces himself saying that I'm a son of a Shudra, but Parashuram says, no, you're a Kshatriya. Because only a Kshatriya can tolerate this kind of pain. That's what he says. Okay, so the point is, his jati is understood based on his karma, his activity, because it's a fact. Like if you see in modern times also, Aurangzeb would torture Guru Gobind Singh and so many Sikh gurus, and he would kill them. Like Sambhaji Maharaj also, son of Shivaji, was tortured by Aurangzeb and so on. But these people, Kshatriya means like that. Unka khoon niklega, lekin unko farak nahi padta. right? That's what Kshatriya means. It's not just
Do
a
or die.
caste. It's not just, yeah, it's not just I have a surname called as some Rajput or some Maratha like
Maran.
Bhosle or whatever. I need to have that quality. Then only I am a Kshatriya. Okay, so it's for every caste, it is Jati, it is like that. Caste is not the right word, Jati is the right word. Okay, so the point is, so my point is in the entire Mahabharata story, you will see Karna is accepted as a Kshatriya only by all these people.
Okay. So you mean
Right?
to say, although he is not, as a story, we know that he's a Kshatriya. Actually, to the world, he's not a Kshatriya, but still he's accepted as Kshatriya.
Yeah, by birth, he was not understood as a
Stood as a
Kshatriya,
Kshatriya.
but by activity, he was
He was
understood as a
understood as a
Kshatriya.
Kshatriya.
That's why
Okay.
even when they make him the king of Anga, Anga is actually modern
Angadesh.
day Assam, Arunachal Pradesh, nobody objects because see, nobody questioned his capability as a Kshatriya. Everybody knew he's a very capable person as a Kshatriya and he worked. Generally, that was not the order of the day that a driver's son would become such a big Kshatriya, which
Yeah.
generally doesn't happen. So rarely it happens, kind of. But when it happened, it was accepted in the story. That's the point.
Okay. So would you like to take Eklavya first, or I have another question on Karna
Yeah, let's finish
regarding the.
Karna first. Let's
Okay,
finish
okay,
Karna first and then go to
okay.
Eklavya.
So again, there was one more incident in Mahabharata which comes where he was rejected on the basis of low caste. That was when Draupadi refused to marry Karna, and even Krishna was present there at the time of Draupadi Swayamvar.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Good question. So, see, first of all, we need to understand in a Swayamvar means the lady has the right to choose her husband. Okay. Now, in that Swayamvar, the woman has a right to reject anybody. Now, actually, that invitation was given to all Brahmins and Kshatriyas. Now, because Karna was also accepted as a Kshatriya only in terms of his activity, he was invited. So, please try to understand. The very fact that he came there and he was allowed to participate, at least from the organization perspective, what it means is that the society did not have any problem with Karna coming. Are you getting this point?
Yeah.
It was Draupadi's personal choice. Now, that also has to be respected. Let's try to understand this. See, because see, even if let us say for argument that somebody is a Kshatriya, even though he's born in the family of a driver or whatever, but that is the family background, right? Now, Draupadi is a princess. So it is not that she just wants to get married to any Kshatriya or something. She also wants to go into a particular type of family. Okay. So just like, let's say in modern times also, let's say if there is a man who is living in the slum, okay, his parents are from the slum background, but he has won a lottery ticket of 1 crore rupees and he becomes very rich. Okay, will a rich man's daughter marry him? Because she will also think, okay, this man is rich because he got a lottery of some 5 crore. Because uska background, uska family, sab vaisa hai. So that girl may not be comfortable to go into that. So you have to understand this. So it was Draupadi's choice where she said that I don't want to marry, and she's perfectly fine in saying that. She said that I don't want to marry the son of a suitor, son of a driver. Usse mere shaadi nahi hogi. So that's what she said, and she's perfectly ready. Now you can't make this caste acquisition on her because it's a personal choice. But the society didn't have a problem. My point is that the society means the larger thing you have to see. Like it's not that when he came into, Karna came inside, that time only he was stopped by the organizers of the event. There was an event kept, na?
Yeah,
so there
understood.
all Brahmins and Kshatriyas were invited and only Kshatriyas came actually. No Brahmin came because Brahmins were also not targeted. It was only the Pandavas who came dressed as Brahmin. Now that's a different story, right? But otherwise, other than them, no Brahmin had also come. Only Kshatriyas had come and these 5 Pandavas had come.
Yeah. So you
but
mean
the
to
point
say
is the organizers had not stopped him.
Yeah.
He was stopped as a personal choice by Draupadi. And that you have to respect. A woman has a choice whom she wants to get married to. Come on.
Yeah. So yeah, in the movie they may show that a rich girl is getting married to a auto driver, but in reality it doesn't happen.
It never happens. All our film heroines also, they marry either business people or nowadays they marry foreigners like Priyanka Chopra and all these people. Nobody, no one marries anything less than their status. I mean, that's a fact of life. That's only to fool the common people they have fooled.
Okay. So there was another, one student is asking, there was another incident when again there was discrimination on Karna because he was insulted by the Pandavas and some honor was given by Duryodhan. So what is problem in that?
Acha, okay. I understood which story
In
you're
the
going
match,
to.
starting match.
No.
Yeah.
Now, please try to understand that match that was organized was a match for the princess of Hastinapur. So please try to understand there are two things. There is the Gurukul, where many people studied under Drona. The match was a private affair where only the princess, जो राजा के जो पुत्र लोग थे ना, they were showing their skills. Karna studied under Drona, but he was not a Raja ka putra, na. He didn't have a kingdom. So he was not invited in that. See, that's not a caste discrimination, mind you. See, Drona had taught him. See, otherwise, how come he came and showed all these skills? He had learned from a proper teacher only, and Drona was his teacher till that point. Uske baad wo Parshuram ke paas jate. Okay, so he had learned, but that event was only for princes. It's like a private program. It's a private program. Now you cannot come in that and say that I also want to show my skill. So everybody said that, okay, he studied, that is fine. There were so many people who would have studied under Drona. Kshatriya. So please try to understand, Kshatriya means it's not only the Raja Putra was a Kshatriya. There were so many ministers, so many other people whose children also studied in that same Gurukul, right? Everybody was given the knowledge. But that performance was only for the princes of that family.
Okay.
Now, there this fellow came and said that he's not a prince, right? Because prince is not it's a position. So then, of course, then Duryodhan exploited that, and he told he said that I will make you the king of Anga, so that you can become a prince, like that.
Okay. So yeah, so one student is asking, so yeah, I'll take. So he's asking, okay, I'll just take his question after 1-2 more questions. That if I ask from the point of Kunti, was it right on the part of Kunti to leave Karna, and till the end, why didn't Kunti reveal to Pandavas that, at least to Pandavas, that Karna was his brother? So it looks like it's too much injustice on one person.
Okay, we see about first of all, if you see Karna, the only injustice you could say is that he didn't have a childhood with his own mother. But at the same time, the Mahabharata story doesn't portray him too much as a victim, like it is done in television serials. He was raised very lovingly by his parents, by his adopted parents, Adhirath and his wife Radha. And throughout his life, he was a Kshatriya, he was a king, he was always engaging in military activities and so on. Okay. Now, as far as Kunti is concerned, please try to understand a 14-year-old girl who gets a child like this, and that also, if you go back to the story, how she got the child by calling the sun god and all that, it is not easy for a 14-year-old girl to manage a child. She herself is a child, actually. And even in today's world, if any 15-year-old, 14-year-old girl lands up with a child in her hands, what is she going to do? Okay, see, you have to look at it from her perspective. In fact, Kunti suffered the most in this. She knew it is Karna, but by the time she understood, he was already friends with Duryodhan. See, there was all these complications also that happened, right? Even from Drona's ashram only, he was friends, and later also Duryodhan took him in his side. Now, for Kunti to tell that to the Pandavas was never easy, because there was this intense rivalry, and Duryodhan was constantly plotting, and Karna was always on his side only throughout the story, if you see carefully. So it was never very easy. So in fact, we unnecessarily make Karna too much a victim. But actually, it was Kunti who found it most difficult. And to tell you the truth, had the Pandavas come to know that Karna was their brother, they would have never fought him. But Karna was ready to fight against the Pandavas despite knowing that they are his younger brothers. Okay, so you have to understand that Kunti did a right thing in retrospect by not revealing Karna's identity to the Pandavas.
Okay, here I get two questions from what you just told. One is that when Karna knew that they are my brothers and Kunti is my mother. Second, was this revealed by Kunti to Karna or Karna knew beforehand? And okay, and I'll ask the third one also. Yeah.
Yeah, so no, it was known just before the war.
Okay.
Just before the war, only Krishna and Kunti both independently tell him, but they both tell Karna,
Okay.
who are you? But the thing is, he never changed his attitude still. He still fought on side of
For
Duryodhana only.
the
Whereas the Pandavas would have never done that had they known. So it was a good thing that they were not informed till his
yeah.
death.
So you mentioned one thing that if the Pandavas knew that he is my brother, then they would have not fought. Seeing from again from Bhagavad Gita's perspective, if I see that Arjuna was fighting, he knew that my teacher is there, my brothers are there, my elders are there. Still, he fought. So when you say the statement that if he knew that Karna was on, Karna is my brother, so wouldn't have he fought? He would have
No,
fought.
they wouldn't have because see, among the Pandavas, the eldest was to be the king. The eldest was Yudhishthir. Okay, but had they known that Karna is their elder brother, then Yudhishthir would have given the throne to Karna. And
Oh,
Karna would have given the throne to Duryodhana. So then there is no meaning only to the war.
fight. Okay, understood, understood. Okay, okay. One question, one student is asking that uh, from the whole Mahabharata perspective, who was a better archer? Was it Karna or was it Arjuna?
Karna was a good archer in terms of, see, it's like this. You know, sometimes like two cricketers are there, both are good in playing cricket. But one is a good cricketer when it comes to tough situations. Like in a World Cup match, he will hit a century. In an
Oh,
important match, there are some cricketers, if you carefully observe, in important match, they score runs. बाकी कोई क्रिकेटर रहेगा टैलेंट बहुत रहेगा लेकिन इंपॉर्टेंट मैच में जीरो में आउट हो जाएगा सो करना वाज लाइक दैट ही वाज टैलेंटेड but whenever there was any important fight in life in war he always failed. Okay,
mm,
whether it was once with Duryodhana, he had gone to make fun of the Pandavas in the forest. That time also he failed. Even in the Mahabharata, he fails. War. Arjun was like that cricketer who performs best in tough
consistent.
situations.
Rahul Dravid.
Yeah, but no, but yeah, whatever. I mean, I don't want to give examples. That would be controversial. You understood?
Yeah.
So, see, from skill wise, Karna was no less, to tell you the truth. But in terms of performance in critical situations, and this is one thing. Second thing, let me tell you, most important, which we see being a Kshatriya is not just about the skill, it is about that attitude towards Dharma. Karna was always siding Duryodhan, who was doing all kinds of nefarious activities. Okay, whereas Arjuna, it is not just about who can fight well. It's about what you're fighting for. Okay,
Oh.
we forget that this is not a cricket match just to see the skill. The skill
Mm-hmm.
is being used for what? Like a terrorist
Mm-hmm.
is there. A terrorist can also shoot very nicely, and an army man can also shoot very nicely. But there is a difference in the army man shooting and the terrorist shooting. This fellow is only interested in destruction. The army man can shoot, but he can protect also.
Mm.
Okay, so similarly, you cannot compare Arjun and Karna only on skill. That is one thing that I already told you. But more importantly, Arjuna was better in terms of understanding what is right and what is wrong, dharma and adharma, which Karna
Mm.
never had in life.
Yeah. So it seems like seeing movies like Dawn and all these things, we think even the villains are good. And we have Ravana as one movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's misfortune. Okay, so what about Mahamrityunjay? In that, Karna is glorified a lot.
Yeah, unfortunately, see, when we read scripture, we should first see there is the Mahabharata of Vyasadeva. What does Mahabharata of Vyasadeva write about these characters? We should see that. Okay. So Vyasadeva begins his first chapter in Mahabharata by saying that there are two trees. He says one tree is the tree of Dharma. Okay. He says the root of that tree is Krishna, the trunk is Yudhishthir, the branches are Bhima and Arjuna, and the flowers are Nakul Sahadev. And the other tree, he said, is the tree of Adharma. The root of that is Dhritarashtra. The trunk is Duryodhan. The branches are Karna Shakuni. And the flowers are Dushasana and all these people. So please remember, Vyasadeva, who wrote the Mahabharata, has already introduced the characters.
Okay.
And not only he has just labeled the characters as Dharma, Adharma, he has given adequate instances of each of them doing Dharma and Adharma. Now please remember, even Yudhishthir did a mistake. What was Yudhishthir's only mistake? In the gambling match,
Yes.
where he put his wife and all that. Okay. See, that is because every human being, even if he's 99% good, 1% galti karta hai na, human being hai na. But Karna and Duryodhan were not like that. Karna had only 1% good, literally. 99% he was siding with Duryodhan in all the nefarious activities. And about this we discussed last time, if you remember. His whole life was based on cheating, trying to kill the Pandavas, do all kinds of wrong things to them. Okay. So now unfortunately what happens is people in India, they have taken characters of Rama and Mahabharata and written their own story about it. Okay, so it will be good if they could have written their own novel, like some Hardy Boys or something like that. They could have written their own novel. But what they do is they take the Mahabharata characters and impose something on them, which is not there in the story.
Okay.
So that becomes a problem.
Okay. So seeing all these flaws, can we say that destiny was against Karna?
No, why do we get destiny here? The point is, it was his free choice. He was instructed not only by Krishna later in life, but by Bhishma, Vidura. Everybody told him, what you are doing is not right. Okay. But he never chose to do the right thing. He simply was blinded by that attachment to Duryodhan. And he said that, oh, Duryodhan gave me kingdom, so I am his slave. I will do whatever he says. No, loyalty doesn't mean that. It is just like, I give somebody money and then I can't make him my hired goon to kill people and do things. So where is your own brain in terms of, what you are? Just leave the kingdom, forget it. Okay. So just because somebody gives me money, it doesn't mean that I forget all my ethics in life.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So see, when you say destiny, it is not like that is best. Nobody is, see, destiny is created by man, by his actions. Okay. So you will have to see what you did, and it's not that you didn't get adequate opportunities in life to improve.
Okay. So one student is asking, sir, you're telling so much, against Karna. So finally, was he a good guy or was he a bad guy? And even if whatever he was, what are the lessons to be learned from the life of Karna?
See, he was a skillful in fighting.
Okay.
He was skillful in archery. He also had some charitable disposition, which, by the way, most Kshatriyas had. He was charitable. These two things he had. But other than that, in terms of his view towards the world, that was a problem. Okay. This understanding of what is right and what is wrong, that is fundamentally important. You side with the wrong person all your life, then your contribution, what is the use of your skill? It is like, I know how to shoot. But if I'm on the side of a terrorist, what is the use of my shooting ability? I may be a good shooter, I may be a sharp shooter. But the question is, where am I using my shooting skills? If I have sold my shooting skills to Dawood Ibrahim, then what is the use of my shooting skill?
Okay.
Like that.
So does this mean just to prove himself that he's the best archer, he did one mistake after another?
It's basically one wrong choice led to another. Okay. So see, that's why association of the people that we have is very important. And we cannot sell our soul for money or position. See, just because somebody offers, this is a very important lesson to learn from Karna's life. Just because somebody throws money at me, it doesn't mean that I start doing all kinds of wrong things to please them.
Okay. But if I ask you this question, that when he was not allowed, whatever, he was allowed to study, but then he wanted to study more, should he had become contented there that, okay, this is what is in my daiva, that this
No,
to be
no,
done,
no,
then
no,
what should
not
he
at all,
have done
not
in
at
the
all.
right way?
No, no. See, he could have always studied under somebody who was ready to teach him. Why lie and take education? See, that Parashuram had a problem with Kshatriya. He had decided he will never teach, he will teach only Brahmins because he wanted to
Mm,
fight against Kshatriyas. Why do you go and lie to a person? Why don't you just be honest? And there were so many other teachers who would have taught Karna. There was no bar. Drona had taught him, as I already told you. Parshuram was his second teacher. He could have gone
yeah.
to some other teacher also. And by the way, even the Pandavas did not go to Parshuram. Parshuram wouldn't have taught Arjun also. Parshuram had decided he will not teach any Kshatriya. He would have not taught Arjun also.
Yeah.
It is not any caste bias over here. That was his personal problem. Usko personal
Mm,
खुन्नस था क्षत्रियों के साथ.
yeah,
So he
understood.
decided that. So you have to respect that opinion, right? Why do you go to somebody when they have said that they will not teach you?
They'll teach you. Understood. And then what was his intention? What was Karna's intention in the first fighting match? Why did he want to come and just show that he's the best archer? What was his intention from Karna's point of view?
Yeah, see, this was also a problem of Karna. See, so the thing is, see, there are two things in life. One is gaining skills and one is to show off. Okay, Karna had this problem. He liked to gain skill, but he also liked to show
Yeah,
off a little.
that's
And
what
that
I was.
showing off attitude was exploited by Duryodhana. Okay, so it's an important lesson in life. Showing off is never important. What is important is obtaining skill and knowledge.
Yeah,
That nobody had stopped him.
yeah, that's what
And
I was
he would
just
have
asking.
and he would have anyway become a king, I'll tell you. He deserved that much by his own quality. It was not necessary for him to live on the tukda of Duryodhana.
Yeah,
He had enough strength to challenge somebody and become a king by himself. He had that basic capacity.
yeah. Okay, so that was, I think, a lot of discussion on Karna. So, sir, should we take, in this session, Eklavya also, or what do you feel?
And we could take, I don't know. I don't know what is the
Okay,
time constraint. If you wish, we
yeah.
can take over.
Okay, let's take
Or
one,
should
two
we
questions.
just, yeah, we can take
We
questions maybe and reserve Ekalavya next time.
Okay, Eklavya will take next time. So we have some questions which have come up. Uh, so one question is that how were the people of different jatis were born? Were they really originated from different parts of Brahmadev? One student has asked. I mean, he wants to ask that jatis are coming from the body of Brahma.
No, no.
No.
See, that is a very figurative explanation that the Brahmin comes from the head of Brahma, Kshatriya comes from the arm and all that. Also, Vishnu actually, not Brahma. But that's figurative. I mean, let's not go into that so much. Uh, the point is, in the universal order, the Brahmin represents the intellect, Kshatriya represents the strength, Vaishya represents the entrepreneurship ability, and Shudra represents the workforce. Okay, so workforce is associated with the legs. Entrepreneurship is associated with the chest, the belly, etc. Strength is associated with the hands, Kshatriya, and intellect is associated with the head. So like that. So that's a figurative description. It need not
Okay.
be seen so literally like that.
Okay. Second question is from Mahabharatya. It is said that Adhidrath is also a descendant from Yayati or from previous Rajas. This is something written in Mrityunjay.
I wouldn't go by that because unfortunately that book by Shivaji Sawant is not based on original Mahabharata.
Okay.
So it's very difficult to understand why he has written what he has written. But yes, Adhirath himself was a very qualified person. He was part of the Dhritarashtra's kingdom working over there. Okay. And his son was also allowed to progress a lot. So that much we need to know.
Okay. Just a minute. Yeah. So next question is that which was again a previous question. So it's up to you to take it up or not. That why was the Kavach and Kundal given before the war?
Yeah. So I
If you
think we
want to take,
discussed this last time, if
yeah,
you remember.
yeah, I
That
remember.
Kavach and Kundal, Indra took it, but he gave him a
Gave it.
Vajra in return. It was a business deal.
So it was
Kavach
not
and
charity.
Kundal, it was actually not pure charity. I'll tell you why. Kavach and Kundal could have protected Karna, but he could not have killed Arjuna with his Kavach and Kundal. So Karna judiciously did that because he got Vajra and he thought that with Vajra he can kill Arjuna. And that
Yeah.
Vajra had that power to kill anybody on whom he throws it. It's a different thing that he ended up throwing it at Gatotkacha.
Gatotkacha.
That's a different thing.
Yeah.
But it had that ability to kill anyone whom you throw it at.
Yeah. So next question is, sir, which teachers other than Drona and Parshuram had the powers of Brahmastra? Like, I think this is in the context that that when we were asking that why did he lie to Parshuram, so you told that he could have gone to some other person. So in that context he's asking that who else knew this thing so that he would have gone to that person.
No, first of all, see, Drona knew Brahmastra. Drona tells Karna, I'll not teach you. And that's a very interesting story. I'll tell that story. So Drona tells not only Karna, he tells his own son, Ashwatthama
Yeah.
also, I'm now going to teach you. He said, because you are not competent only to learn it properly. But of course, his son forces him and he gets that half knowledge of how to throw but not how to retract. Okay. But so Drona was very impartial at that time. See, because every weapon also, every weapon, you need to have a mindset to have a weapon. It's not, imagine today's nuclear bomb. Any mad ruler will have nuclear bomb with him. He can do any nonsense with it. See, like Pakistan has nuclear weapons. Everybody is afraid. What if the nuclear weapon lands in the hand of the terrorist, jihadi fellow? वो आधा cracky है jihadi. He will throw it on anybody. Are you getting it? So, to have a weapon, you need a mindset. And Drona had intelligently understood that Karna did not have the right mindset for it. Because Brahmastra was never to be used
Casually.
just at anybody. Please remember, Arjun had Brahmastra. In the 18 days of Mahabharata, did he use it on anyone?
No.
He never used it on anybody. See, these were weapons which were to be used against a particular power in certain situations only. And Arjun never used Brahmastra in the Mahabharata. He used it only on Ashwatthama because Ashwatthama throws Brahmastra. And unfortunately, Brahmastra became counteracted only by another Brahmastra. So only that time he does it, but otherwise he doesn't do it. So that's the proof that Arjun had the mindset to handle a weapon like that. But a madman, you will give him Brahmastra, he will throw it on anybody and destroy the world only. So that is why Drona told his son, his own son he told. And Karna also he told, तुम लोग ब्रह्मास्त्र के लायक नहीं हो.
Yeah. So next question is that, sir, many of the people think that Mahabharata is fake due to there are a lot of impossible things like death to Bhishma and Kavach and Kundal of Karna, and that sons of God. What do you have to say on that?
See, basically, you need to understand many things in it. First of all, if you want, there are enough archaeological, geographic, and also astronomical references that can prove the authenticity of Mahabharata. Archaeological in terms of proofs in Dwarka, in several other places in Kurukshetra archaeology by Dr. S.R. Rao. Geographic in terms of the river Saraswati and the rivers through which it passes, and the cities through which it passes, and those cities are even there today with the same names as in the Mahabharata. And astronomical proofs in terms of various tithis, nakshatras, everything is mentioned in the Mahabharata. When the war is supposed to happen, all that has been mapped with today's software, where you can go back in time and understand when did all these things happen. And all these things have happened only in 3000 BC, when the Mahabharata is said to have happened. Okay, so you cannot simply reject like that. And you need to see, just because just because we don't experience something. To limit knowledge to our experience is ignorance. I may have not experienced what it means with connection with a god. That doesn't mean that anybody who experiences a connection with gods in some way, it is all false. See, so basically, we need to come out of that frog in the well mentality, where a frog is sitting in the well and thinks that this is the only universe. Okay, so the Mahabharata is much more serious and has many more proofs, even historically, in terms of the number of kings that have been there, the ancient recordings in India. So many things we can talk about that.
Okay. So next question is that it's basically again on Karna, that Karna at the end of the actual war, Mahabharat war, it seems like Karna overpowered Arjuna, and so could have defeated Arjuna also.
No,
So
he did not. He never overpowered it. He never overpowered. It was a tough match, but obviously Karna was talented. I had already told you, Karna was a talented fighter. Okay, but he had not. He didn't have any upper hand in Arjuna, especially after losing Kavach Kundal and also after losing that Astra. No,
so
Arjuna would have anyway killed him. But the point is, Krishna wanted to ensure that Karna dies in a way in which he's cheated only and killed. Because he
okay.
cheated the Pandavas all life. He cannot have a fair death. That was Krishna's personal strategy. But Arjuna was ready to wait and kill him in a fair fight, and he would have done that also. Please remember, Arjuna had defeated him in the past also. If you
Yeah, two
see,
times
just before the war happened, all these warriors had come to
come.
Virat
Yeah,
and they
yeah,
had fought, and Arjuna single-handedly defeated everybody and made everybody unconscious, including Karna. Okay, and
yeah.
even before that, even after the Gurukul was over, Drona had asked Guru Dakshina, and he said, Guru Dakshina, I want Drupad captured alive. And Duryodhan went with Karna, but he couldn't capture Drupad. But Arjuna went and captured Drupad.
Drupad, yeah,
There are
absolutely.
so many incidents like that in the Mahabharata where that's why I told you, Arjuna was like a cricketer who performs in a World Cup final.
Yeah. So I have small two, three more questions, sir. But if the weapons like Brahmastra is thrown on a mortal person, it destroys the invoker. Is it true or false?
Yes, it destroys not only the invoker, it destroys the whole universe. So it
Okay.
is supposed to be used in very extraordinary circumstances. That's why
So,
Ashwatthama did a stupid thing. That's why he's called as a Brahmabandhu. He never knew anything about it.
okay. So interesting question. So does it mean that all the employees who are working in companies are basically Shudras in today's world?
By and large, employment means Shudra only, by and large. Yeah, because you're dependent on another person, you are not independent. Brahman, Kshatriya, and Vaishya means you have some independence in your occupation. Or you have that particular thing, like Brahman related to selfless teaching. Kshatriya is related to protection. Now, if you see, police and army people are also employed only. But still they are counted as a Kshatriya because at least they exhibit that valor of a Kshatriya. Even today, is it easy for an army man to stand in Srinagar and fight against the terrorist? You see the stories, when they go around a building where there are terrorists sitting, they have to shoot in such a way that civilians are also not killed and terrorists also get killed. It's not
Yeah.
easy for them. They give their life when they do that. So they're exhibiting that valor. So they become Kshatriya.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So basically like that.
Yeah, one last question. So, sir, I think it's written in Bori CE. I don't know what is that. That Karna overpowered Arjuna at the last.
No,
Some
it
book,
is
I don't
not
know.
in Vyasadev's Mahabharata. Maybe somebody has written something.
Okay.
In
So,
Vyasadev's Mahabharata, Karna never overpowers Arjuna. It's a tough fight. It's a tough fight. But from previous statistics, we know that Arjuna was always defeating. Like होता है ना, Roger Federer versus Nadal. इतनी times वो लोग meet किए, इतना time इसने उसको defeat किया, like that. Arjuna had a 3-0 score with Karna before the war. 3-0. 3 times they
before
had met,
war.
3 times he had won. Yeah, before the war. 3 times he had won. Like the Drupad one, Virat, and there's one more. In all 3 occasions, that Gandharva, with the Gandharva when they were fighting. So 3-0 record he had. So there was no question it would become 4-0.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we'll stop here. And so I'll just try to just revise what we saw. So you started with telling about jatis. So jatis are like different parts of our body. So nobody is superior or junior. So everyone has their own roles to play. And birth is not a criteria for being a Brahmana or Kshatriya, but surely it helps. And you were giving many examples like the Jews running and controlling the world in different ways. Even I heard that media, most of the media is controlled by Jews. And you also told about the good Jews in India. And you mentioned how Brahmanas are like the head, the Kshatriyas are like the hand, the Vaishyas are like the stomach, and Shudras are like the legs. So everyone is important. And Shudras are one. How do we define them? They are not that somebody who is just doing the very kind of work. He is just one who is dependent on somebody. He gives his own skill, and he's dependent on somebody to get his wages. And it won't be possible to have a casteless society. Surely, even in that casteless society, there will be different castes which will be possible. And if that is so, the people will go through an identity crisis. And you even mentioned about the identity crisis, that it is the responsibility of an individual to know what his identity is, even if it requires to I mean if he it surely will require a lot of time, energy, but it's his duty to find it. And you said about family upbringing, the guide and the person. So these four are important to know the identity. And Karna, although he actually was a Kshatriya, or he was externally seen as a Suta, but he was still accepted as a Kshatriya. And then we also talked about Draupadi, it was her personal choice. So if it was from the society norm, if it was that Karna is not to be allowed, then the organizers would have stopped him. But he was given an entrance into that match. But it was just a personal choice of like any other girl, that I just want to marry this boy or that boy. So in that sense, we saw that incident. And even the first match which you were telling, that was a personal program, and he was an uninvited guest, Karna. And you also mentioned about the dharma and the adharma tree, and the roots, the branches you gave. And one most important thing which I understood is that we have to see scriptures from the Vyasa perspective, or the person who has written it, not that I tomorrow write my own Mahabharata. So yeah. And the skills are important. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, this I would your final comments on that. I had few more questions that
No,
I'll
fine.
surely be
Just
taking.
just to conclude that skills are important, but it is mindset that defines you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, for example, I told you, right, terrorist and an army man both have the skill of shooting, but the army man has the mindset of a kshatriya.
Yeah.
Okay, of a true kshatriya. True
True Kshatri.
kshatriya. That means, yeah.
Yeah.
So there is a true kshatriya and a false kshatriya. Like this Duryodhan, Karna, they were false. False as in they couldn't use their skills for the constructive purpose of society. We need people
Yeah.
like Shivaji Maharaj, right? Who have the strength. Like
Yeah.
Shivaji Maharaj, if you see in his life, he killed only three people. Do you know that? Three or
Yeah.
four?
Yeah.
It is
You told last
documented.
time,
Yeah. So it's not that just because he was Kshatriya was going on killing people.
killing
No.
people.
Because
Yeah.
killing, that is only one function. Like he killed Afzal Khan, like that, two, three people only he killed Shivaji Maharaj.
Ah.
So you need that mindset to be called as a Kshatriya. Mindset is very important. It's not just
Yeah.
the external skill.
Okay. So you were also mentioning at the last, sorry, this point which I just uh, stopped at the skill. So you mentioned that the good part in Karna was that he was skillful, but his view towards the world was very wrong. Yeah. So yeah, I think we'll stop here. There are a few more questions which have come up that surely we'll be taking in the next session. So thank you so much to each and every one of you personally, and thank you so much, sir, for giving your valuable time. This we have overshot this time. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I would like to conclude. Thank you so much, sir, for being with us and enlightening us with these controversial topics, from crucial caste systems to controversial Karna. It was very nice meeting you and having a chat and a discussion. We also would like to thank Rishabh Kaul sir, who made this session an interactive one. He was the one who conveyed our questions to everyone, especially you, and things were made clear by him. And obviously, sir, thank you so much, sir, for being there.
Sir, just one last comment. I actually forgot to ask you about reservations, so I'll be taking that in the next session. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Bye.